Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. Before I get started on today's episode, just want to thank everybody for supporting the channel, pushing to 3,000 subscribers. So if you guys do enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe. So for this episode, I want to talk about a reoccurring issue for the Miami Heat that's been plaguing the Heat this whole season, but it's also been plaguing us mostly for the last 2 months. And so the Miami Heat have a alarming tendency to collapse in the second half and most recently in the fourth quarter. So we all know that the Miami Heat in the last few years have had the third quarter where they've just been horrific on offense and defense in the third quarters. But now that has trickled down to the fourth quarter, and the Miami Heat have blown another double-digit lead, and they're coming off a pretty pathetic loss to the Chicago Bulls at home, 114 to 109. And it's hard to believe that they lost this game. But again, I've said this and I've reiterated that I don't have expectations for this team. They're a mediocre, average, crappy team. And I don't really expect them to win a ton of games, but I do expect them to beat teams that are below 500, that are crappy and that are tanking, that are young, and that have made trades to make their rosters worse to get off salary, and also missing 4 players and including a few starters. So Lonzo Ball wasn't playing, Vucevic wasn't playing. I don't know who else was playing, but multiple guys were out. They traded Zach LaVine, who has been their best player, who's a borderline all-star this season. And yet we still lose to this team at home when we have Andrew Wiggins back in the lineup. We have Tyler Herro, we have Bam, we have Davion, we have Haywood, we have pretty much everybody. Kalal's back in the lineup, and we're healthy. Like, sure, Burks is not playing, but he's been in and out of the rotation all season, and Jovic is going to probably be out for the season. But it's just pathetic because, again, the Heat are like 20 and 10 versus the teams that are below 500, and we're 9 and like 24 or something against teams that are above 500. So if it's a 500 team now on with these like 18, 19 games left in the season, I'm not going to expect them to win. I'm going to expect them to lose because they lose pretty much 60% of the time or more against good teams or teams that are 500. And so you can't lose to the Chicago Bulls. And the Heat started off strong in this game. They led by as many as 17 points at one point, and entering the fourth quarter, they're up by 11 points. And once again, the fourth quarter proved to be their Achilles heel and proved that this Miami Heat team is a bad team. Only bad teams find ways to lose in different and new ways against other bad teams. Good teams always find ways to win, okay? Like, you see the Thunder, you see the Cavs, you see the Celtics, you see whatever, and there's all these teams that do really well and find ways to win, but we don't do that. So the Bulls, which was annoying, outscored the Miami Heat 36 to 20 in the final period, erasing that deficit that I mentioned that the Heat had, handing the Miami Heat their 14th loss this season in games where they're entering the fourth quarter, which is just crazy. And adding insult to injury, this defeat came against the Bulls, like I said, who are missing 4 key rotation players. And this is the second time that we've done this. We were up by 17 against the Bulls on the road earlier this season, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and we blew that lead. So that is obviously a big issue. And the other issue is that the Bulls are 2-0 against the Miami Heat this season, and they're a tanking young team who has made big trades to get salary off their books so they can tank even further. But anyway, since January 1st, the Miami Heat have been outscored by 104 points, 104 points. I don't know why I said 104. They were outscored by 104 points in the fourth quarter and have shot just 29% from 3 during this crucial time frame. And that's just terrible. Like, since January 1st, like, I don't know how many games that is, but still, you can't be outscored by 100. Like, that's 104. That's insane. So these stats, again, underline a troubling pattern for this Miami Heat that doesn't seem to go away. So this is something that's consistent. And unfortunately, again, like I said, it's not an isolated incident. We've seen similar meltdowns all throughout the season. For instance, on February 7th, we played the Brooklyn Nets, and the Heat were outscored 31-9 in that fourth quarter. And we lost 102-86, which is just embarrassing because the Nets are even worse than the Chicago Bulls. And who could also forget that game against the Magic? I forgot what it was a few months ago, but the Heat squandered a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter. And Paolo wasn't playing. I don't think Franz was playing either. And they ultimately lost 121-114, which is just insane to that team. I think Suggs was out as well. I know he's out for the season now, but still, they were outscored 37-8 in that final frame against all these backups, which is just insane. So what is contributing to all of these late game collapses? I think there's several reasons why. One, they suck. That's one thing. I could say Terry Rozier, I could say Spo, but those are some things that, a lot of Heat Twitter are going to say. But one thing is the offense is not good enough. Their offense is super stagnant, and it usually grinds to a halt in the fourth quarter. They just can't find ways to score in that fourth quarter. In that recent loss to the Bulls, the Miami Heat shot just 1 for 11 during a critical stretch, allowing Chicago to seize all the momentum with like 6 minutes to go in that fourth quarter. So their offense stalls. They don't have Jimmy Butler. They don't have a superstar who could bail them out. They don't have an elite bucket getter like Kevin Durant or Steph Curry or whoever, or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who could get buckets and get to the free throw line. The other pieces are defensive breakdowns. So I don't know what their defensive rating is today, but I know last time I checked it was 12th, which is uncharacteristic for the Miami Heat to be out of the bottom, to be not in the top 10. And so late game defensive lapses, like they can build a lead, but they can't hold it. So it's not just the offense. It's either the offense, the defense, or both, right? Just pick your poison with the Miami Heat. But there's other times where it's defensive breakdowns, like they're scoring, but then their defense shits the bed. Like allowing 31 points and only scoring 9 in the fourth quarter against the Nets. Like it's just time and time again, they've done that where they're just not rotating well. They're not protecting the paint. Khalil Ware is on the bench last night and like they're scoring at will at the paint. Like, what's his name? Tyus Jones' brother, Trey Jones, got to the rack so many times. So did Kobe White. Like it was just like we need a 7-footer who could protect the rim. Like why is he not in there? So those are other reasons too. But again, lack of a reliable closer. That's what I already said. Departure of Jimmy Butler has left this team in a huge void. Tyler Herro has been pretty terrible in the clutch time as of late since All-Star break. And Jimmy Butler is known for his late game heroics. And without him, the Heat suck. We have no one that can consistently score, that can get to the free throw line, that can slow the game down. So the Heat have to address these issues because otherwise, like, there's no way to salvage the season. The season's over. I mean, it's been over since Jimmy Butler quit on us and asked for a trade. So whatever strategies the coach wants to implement, like maintaining offensive efficiency, reinforcing defensive schemes during crunch time, I don't know what the hell they can do. Not playing Terry Rozier perhaps in the fourth quarter, figuring out better lineups. The road ahead is not going to get any easier for the Miami Heat, even though they have a pretty easy standing or schedule. They're going to make it in the play-in, and their reward is they're going to either get destroyed by the Celtics or the Cavs, or they are going to not make the play-in by losing in the play-in tournament, and then they'll get 2 picks, which will be a reward for them at this point. And I'm starting to lean towards getting those 2 picks so we can use it for ammunition for a trade for the future because we need help. We need a superstar on this team. Otherwise, we're going nowhere.